with really high or extreme temperatures. And if we see this from satellite data, so from the early 80s to, I think that the last year is 2022, but you see that the increase of the surface of the marine heat wave. So this hypothesis that we had about the climate change is something that was being fulfilling. And it's not only the surface covered by the marine heat waves, it's the different colors that you see, this dark orange and dark and black. It's the category of the marine heat waves, which means that the darker the color, the higher is the intensity of the marine heat wave affecting this area. So we are in a context during the last 15, 20 years where we have been experiencing almost everywhere in the Mediterranean the conditions of marine heat waves. And yes,
just to understand, because there are a lot of definition of marine heat waves. So
yes.
See, these are the intensities. So you are referring
No. This is the cover. So if you take the entire Mediterranean, what is the surface that at some point during the year, so each bar corresponds to 1 year. During the year, the conditions of a marine heat wave, which is at least 5 days with extreme temperature,
above a certain
yeah.
Of which distribution? This is what I was asking. Is it the reference distribution of climatological distribution?
Yeah. This
so
is the data.
Extreme with respect to an average which is in the past.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is from the sea surface Copernicus product, and then you take, I don't remember now what was the climatology that it's some, I don't know if it's 11 or 15 years that they take, and then you calculate this from this. Of course, there is a lot of debates on, but I didn't want to enter on this. If you have to calculate this as without the trend, or with kind of a climatology you are using, you get different changes. But my point here is that for the organisms, this debate, it's useless.
Yeah, but this is not year by year, but it's just with respect to a reference, which is important, I think, to understand.
Yeah, but
at least for me.
Yeah, but it means that the conditions above the mean conditions are covering almost the entire Mediterranean. Okay, so this and for the organisms, this is key, because before they were experiencing 20 degrees, now they are at 24. And this, for their biology, they are not adapted to this biology for these temperature thresholds, and then they suffer, and then they. In this case, we are dealing now with mass mortality events, but there are also changes in the reproductive cycles, in the migratory pathways, etc. So there are many other consequences. Okay. Yeah. No problem. So, since the marine heat waves is something that it has been on the scientific arena with the definition, and it has been really widespread use. It has been quite popular, I would say, in the scientific world. And now there are many reviews and many people use this term of marine heat waves. And there is, of course, we need to, and there are people working on this, on the definitions and clarifying things and how to adapt that. But what I wanted to highlight here is that the works that we have been doing, us and other colleagues in the Mediterranean, you see that we have a spot in this global assessment. So it's something that the Mediterranean as well, it has been highlighted as a hot spot for the effects of the marine heat waves. Okay, so these are the impacts of the marine heat waves in the different marine ecoregions across the globe, where these authors find the information. It's just to let you know that the marine heat waves has been something that, as I said, it became popular, and probably most of you have heard about or hear about the marine heat waves. But in any case, coming back, because most of the data of marine heat waves, it comes from data from the satellites. And we know that in the water column it can change. So depending on the area on the Mediterranean where we are, the hydrological systems that we have, it can be. We have the summer stratification. In some places there are upwellings during the summer, in some others not. In some others there is the deepening of the thermocline. So we need to know what's going below the surface. So this is what we propose in the TEMENNET network. We propose a monitoring protocol to put these temperature data loggers that you see here in the photo, and in fact, what we propose there is to place these black things on your left are the temperature data loggers that they are set up to record the temperature every hour. Okay, in this way, so we put them from the surface from 5 meters to 40 meters, and in this way we can get this high resolution temperature data on what's going on, especially during the summer, but we keep it as well during the winter. Okay, and from, as I said before, from one site that we had in 1999, right now we have more than 140 sites, and they are measuring the temperature in the same way. So we have a better knowledge. I mean, even if we have to stop now, in some areas, in some points, we have more than 20 years of data, and then we can, what we did with much less data is to calculate the warming trends and the marine heat wave days, or all the parameters of the marine heat waves at different depths, not at the surface as we have with the satellite data. Okay, just to show you that this is this monitoring protocol that we proposed back in the 1999 has been producing really nice and useful information to better understand all the effects of the climate change. Another thing, another protocol among others, I'm not going to review all of them, but since this talk is devoted to the mass mortality, we propose as well a really cost-effective protocol to assess what is the impact of the marine of the mass mortality when they occur. This is a monitoring protocol, so it means that the people has to do it every year, ideally, just to track, because there are some years that there is no mortality, but these years are also useful to understand what's going on. And this, I'm not going to enter into the details, but I just want you to focus that the list of authors that have been participating, because as I said, this is a collaborative effort, and we have been working in defining the database and to collect all this data on, in this case, in mass mortality events, and to collect information on the monitoring of these events. And I could stay many time explaining the results of this, but it's just to give you a snapshot. This is a paper that we published, and Ernesto is a co-author of this paper that we published 3 years ago, and it's showing the mass mortality events that happened during the period of 2015 and 2019, because we realized that during that period, at that time, it has been one of the warmest periods recorded in the Mediterranean. Right now, it's not the case. Now it's much warmer. But when we published this, this was the reason why we concentrated this data. And I'm not going to go into to explain every single point, but it's just to show you here that we were able, through this collaborative approach, to collect data from many areas in the Mediterranean and to provide a broad view on this phenomena. And thinking on the climate change, we need this kind of broad approaches to understand what's going on. So after the 2019, there were other mass mortality events, and just to show you that the severity of these events have been as well something in some places has been accelerated. These are some results of the marine heat wave, the impacts of the marine heat wave in 2022, and just to in the left panel you see the maximum records that we had from the temperature series that we had. The number, this is the number, the maximum number of days. So here, the maximum days that have been recorded till 2022 at 25, at 26, at 27, at 28. And these are the values recorded the year 2022, okay? So we collected, for instance, this was the year 2003, but this was the year, I don't know, 2015, okay? But here's only the year 2022. It's just to show you the severity, the intensity of the thermal stress to which the populations were submitted. And in this plot here, what you see is the percentage of colonies affected by mortality. Okay, so it means that in the depth range of 0 and 10 meters, 80% of all the colonies that the people were counting were affected by the mass mortality. Okay, and this stays till almost, well, then at 30 meters goes a little bit down at 70% more or less. But in this layer from 0 to 30 meters, the impact in 2022 in the Marseille area was really, I mean, it's something unbelievable what happened there. Something that we never thought that it could happen. Okay.
On the left here, 2022 count number of days.
Yeah.
And on the left here, 99, 21, is it an average over the years?
No. It's the maximum values over the series that we had.
Okay.
So we were looking at the different years and say, what is the maximum at more than 25, and more than 26, and more, and then we put it there just to compare the severity or the intensity of this marine heat wave in that terms. Okay. And this is from the previous paper, but it's just to show you that this the mortality, it didn't restrict it to this shallow water. It can be going down up to 40 or more meters. Okay, so it's a real impact in the coastal areas from 0 to 40 to 45 and even 50 meters that have been affected. Of course, the shallower, the worse, but it's going down, and we know as well that with the marine heat waves, it's something that it can be depending in some areas the thermocline. So if we have, in this context, we have been then, after making the paper on 2015 and 2019, we have been doing collecting even more data from different years and try to provide the most comprehensive data set on mass mortality, and we are preparing a manuscript on this. And I just want to show you here, the bars here is the number of records, and the number of records, it means the number of mass mortality events that we recorded at the different years. The different colors correspond to the different taxa, so the cnidarians, sponges, bryozoans, etc. And then these circles with the number inside is the number of ecoregions that year were affected by the mass mortalities. Okay, so we started in the early 80s, and there was only one ecoregion. And but now in the last years, I would say we have 6, even 9 ecoregions affected the same year. Okay, and the other thing that I want you to see is that you see that the diversity of species affected the same year. You know, if we go back, we have only 1, 2, 3 colors. And if we go in the last years, it has been many more taxa affected. Okay.
Sorry, can you define ecoregion?
Ecoregion, yeah, ecoregion. We follow there is a paper published by Spalding and collaborators that define in the Mediterranean there are 7 ecoregions. So the Western Mediterranean, the Adriatic Sea, of course, the Aegean, the Levantine. So there are big areas. Okay, so if we go back, so they are here. Adriatic Sea, the Northwestern Mediterranean, Southwestern Mediterranean. These are the ecoregions that we use. So Spalding et al., they use only the Western Mediterranean, but for this study we decided to divide it in two. This is the only difference that we use, because we thought that the Western Mediterranean as a whole, it was too much, so we traced that line here. Okay, but these are big regions, and it's not small regions. Okay.
So you have these big regions, but in some regions you have a lot of measurement, and in some regions you don't have that much.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, it's not a perfect design saying that we have the same number of spots at the same. No, it's not a perfect design, but it's the data that we have been able to collect, and this is something that. In the framework of the TEMENET and these collaborative actions, what we are trying to do is precisely to get this more and to identify what parts are needed. We need to go and to check and to empower the people there to get this information. Okay. So one thing is as I show you what is the immediate impact, I would say, that all these species affected. Okay, so this is something, okay, this is affected. But what are the consequences of this? Because for some species, they can, okay, they die, but they have a higher recruitment and they can recover quite fast. Okay, so what I'm going to show you, it's some examples, but we have been working, our team, but many other colleagues, even here in Italy as well, they have been working on this. This is just to give you an idea on the places that we have been working in the Northwestern Mediterranean. We have been working in other areas, but mainly in the Western Mediterranean. So it's not a matter that what I'm going to explain is not about one population or two populations. It's something that it's quite general, but I'm not going to show you all the results, focusing in those. And what we have been doing during those surveys. So we did different kinds of surveys, but one of those that we do is to mark some permanent plots. So we put some references in the walls, and then we go and measure the different colonies. In this case, this is the red gorgonian, the Paramorphia clavata. So we measure the colony, so we know that this colony was there, so we take notes, and then we can come back year after year, and now we have an idea on the survival, on the growth rate, and if there are new colonies entering in the quadra, in the permanent plot, etc. Okay? So while we were doing this, and I just want to check here, because you see that this is the ruler that we use. So this colony, I don't remember now the year, but keep in mind it had 90 centimeters. And we came back, this was in 2022, and it was exactly the same colony, and it was completely dead. And from the studies that we did in previous years, we know that the growth rate of this species is about 1 centimeter per year. So it means that this colony has probably more than 100 years. And in just one summer, was down. And this is one species, but many of the species that have been affected, and this is unlikely for the Mediterranean, many of the species that have been affected, they have the same kind of dynamics. They are really slow growing, they are really long-lived, decades and hundreds of years, and they are dying. So the recovery, as you can imagine, it's difficult. And this is a photo taken in 2022 in the Marseille area, and you see the density of these skeletons. These are the skeletons of the red gorgonians. So this is also to stress that this, when we talk about in the figure that I showed you before, that it was 80% of the colonies that were affected, they were affected, but at this level. So there is nothing left. So if it's like you are in a fire forest, in a forest, with all the green, and you came back, and it's all dark, completely dark. But this, they cannot recover. Some of the species of trees, they have the mechanism to recover from if depending on the conditions of the fire, they don't have the conditions to come back. And it's not only the red gorgonian. We have been, this is a photo from Corsica, and this is one of the most wonderful red coral populations that I've been working with. And all these whites that you see here, it's epibionts growing on the dead skeletons of the red coral. So all these things, it should be alive, and it's completely dead. Okay. So you can imagine that when we put these in numbers, and this is for this cape in Corsica, what I'm showing here is the biomass of the population through time. So from the start of the service in 2003 till when we finished this paper in 2018, this population had a loss of more than 90% of the biomass. So it's almost nothing. It's nothing is left. Okay. So the impact is really huge. It can be really huge in many cases. So we have, this is a scheme on that we put in a paper just to explain whatever the effects, but it's a kind of a summary on what I have been explaining you. We have the immediate effect, so these white parts are the affected parts of the colonies that are affected by the mass mortality, but then this can be translated in losing this biomass by different mechanisms, but at the end of the day, what we are losing, or what is, for me, it's the most important thing, is that we are losing the structural complexity of the communities, and as it happened in the terrestrial ecosystems, if you have trees, you have insects, you have birds, you have other species that live around or thanks to the conditions provided by the trees. Here's the same. So we are losing these habitat-forming species, like the gorgonians. So we are losing these beautiful landscapes that they provide, but as well all the loss of the biodiversity associated with them. And we did as well, since we had these data sets on monitoring the populations, we did some modeling, because since they were so long-lived, we say, okay, let's try to modelize, to have models on the populations. And you see that this extra point on red I added to the publication, because this was what the model was saying till before, and I added these 2 points later because it was impossible to predict. I mean, it's normal. The model, it was not so kind of have a vision on what was going to happen in the future, but it's just to realize that the hypothesis that we could have about what can happen with the mass mortality and with the climate change, it's really difficult, but it's really dramatic and really severe. What are the consequences? Okay, so the consequence of this is that in even something that I never thought that I would be witnessing is the local extinction of some populations, not the species, but at some places that I've been studying for my thesis in the Catalan coast. Now I want to come back and sample those species. They are not there anymore. And this is just in less than 25 years. This is enormous. I mean, I never thought that I could be witness of something like this. I thought, when we started to do these studies, I thought that in the future, someone is going to see this, but not me. It's too fast. It's too fast. The consequences are happening, really, we don't know how to manage, because it's too much. It's going too fast. And just I'm wrapping up some of the results. I'm not going to go into details, but we have been studying as well, not only these habitat-forming species, but we have been working as well with the community associated to these communities. And what through the analysis of functional traits, we could witness this shift from really complex communities to really fast-growing communities. Okay, so that we are losing all this structure and we are losing some of the functions within the habitats. I'm not going to provide any information, but if you are interested, we have been really, as well, really active working on population genetics, trying to understand what are the connectivity between the populations and finding if there are some recovery pathways for those. We don't have good news for this as well, but just to let you know that if you want to, we look for this. And we have been doing as well quite a lot of work on looking for the thermal response to stress, doing many experiments to try to understand what are the thermal limits for different species, especially in the coralligenous. And as well, these experiments allowed us to explore some eco-evolutionary processes as well to understand if there were some resistant colonies or some resistant populations. And unfortunately, I don't have good news for you as well in this case, but we have been trying to dig and to find, and we still hope that probably we'll have some information. And just as a summary of the main impacts of the mass mortality, I'm putting here a list of things, but almost 100 species affected, different, really high diversity because there are 9, these species that belong to 9 phylum. All the Mediterranean has been impacted at some point or another. Local extinctions have been reported, and we saw as well some shifting down of the distribution. So for instance, in the Gorgonians, if before in the Catalan coast you could see it starting at 15 meters, now you have to go to 20, 25, or in the Balearic Islands as well, we have been witnessing this. Definitely the thing that is worrying me the most is the acceleration of these events. It's something that in the past we say that it was an unprecedented, now it's the new norm. It's something that's happening every year. The problem is that when they are impacted, this population and these habitats, we don't have any sign of recovery. So most of the populations that have been impacted, in fact, they are still there because they are really long-lived species, and these organisms are, most of them, they are colonial, so they are not individual, so they can die partially and they can stand there. But most of them, they are in collapse trajectories. And another thing that for me it's really, because I started to study coralligenous because of the beauty of these habitats, and now what we are witnessing is the banalization of the habitats. We are losing the structure, we are losing the biodiversity. And if we look at this, my last slide before talking about some hope, hopefully I cheer you up a little bit. But this is only for the Northwestern Mediterranean. It's a work that we did some years ago, so probably this has already changed. But this is the projections of the different models and the different scenarios of the number of marine heat waves in the Northwestern Mediterranean. So here, in these bars are the observations. This line, black line, was the observations, and these different lines correspond to the different scenarios. Of course, we, as a community, as a society, we didn't meet any of the goals that we had. So look at whatever you want of the scenarios. But for me, the most worrying thing is that whatever is the scenario that you choose, the next years, there is almost no difference. So it's even really difficult to make the society to understand that they have to commit to this, because even if we go for the most, which is, we are not here, but for this really low carbon emissions scenario, it's going to take a long time, several decades to see the difference. And if this is true, and unfortunately the last years, every year we see over and over how the temperature maximum and records are broken. So I would assume that this is true, or even underestimated. What we have to wait for the next years, it's that this kind of events, they were still there, and it's not going to give the possibility to the populations to come back and to the habitats to come back. So it's really sad. Sorry, not bringing you better news, but this is what, as a scientist, and I think that everybody has to, from the different positions, everyone has the responsibility to contribute. And our way to contribute as a scientist, was, at least this is how I see it, my way to contribute as a scientist to face or to tackle the climate emergency is to explain to the society, try to explain to the society what's going on in the sea. Because sometimes it's really silent. The people, it doesn't know what is happening there. And we have to make clear that what is happening not in the next year. No, it's happening now. It has happened in the last years, and we need. It's another. I don't know if we need more, but it's another argument to take action now. I mean, we need to take action now. So, solution. I hope I came with a magic wand and say, yeah, this is the solution and we can make it. But I decided, or one of the things that we have been working on this is not me. I mean, many people and many clever people have been supporting the idea of having the marine protected areas as what they call nature-based solutions to face the climate change. And the rationale, there is some controversy here, and but I'm not going to go into the details, but the rationale from this is that if you remove all the other stressors, the water is not going to cool down for sure, but you are going to give more chances for to resist the potet, maybe, or to help in the recovery of some of the components of the ecosystem. So this is the background or the rationale behind, and this was one of the arguments. In fact, for sure you all know that at the UNED, at different levels, in fact, that has been adopted this target by the 2030 to have the 30% of the ocean protected. Okay, and even at the level of the European Union, we have within this 30%, a 10% strictly protected. Okay, so we have this protection, and for me, if they are really enforced, and if the marine protected areas work really well, if we make them to work really well, it can provide at least some hope. But what is the situation on the Mediterranean? This is a map of the different MPAs in the Mediterranean, the last official map published. We have more than 1,000 MPAs, but unfortunately, even like this, we have only 8% of the area covered, so we have still many things. We will arrive to the 30% by 2030. No, we are not arrived, for sure. But it's there, okay? So, but we could go and try to improve this situation. The problem is that most of the MPAs in the Mediterranean, they lack of management effectiveness. I mean, they are paper parks. So we have many. They don't cover 8%, but if you dig a little bit, they don't have any management capacity. And if you ask, and this is a result from a MedPan survey, that MedPan, you know, that this is the network of MPA managers in the Mediterranean. So they ran a survey on a subgroup of the best MPAs in the Mediterranean, 2,050 MPAs, and only 1/3 of those. So it's like making a survey with the best of the class, and only 1/3 of those, they say that they consider the climate change in their management plans. So this is really bad news. But then if we dig a little bit more, and they say only 8% they are doing something. one thing is that they consider, so they think, it's something that it matters for us, and the other thing is only 8% are doing something. It can be minimum thing, like monitoring the temperature, okay? So this lack of management effectiveness is a big issue if we really want that the MPAs play their role as nature-based solutions to face the climate emergency. And in this context, in the different projects that we have been in the last project and in the project that we are working now, we are about to launch this alliance, which is 100 MPA Met Alliance. That the main goal is to try to help to reverse this situation of the management effectiveness to face the climate change in the Mediterranean. So what we are trying to do with this is to make that 100 MPAs by 2030, so it's only a subset, okay? But I think that it is a very ambitious goal, but at the same time, it's kind of something that we can reach, and hopefully we can reach. 100 MPAs by 2030, they will be implementing adaptation action plans to the climate change in their MPAs. And we do this through three main pillars. The first one is the toolkits that we have been developing. I show you one of the toolkits that it's about the monitoring of the climate change effects in the MPAs or in the Mediterranean, but there are many others that we have been developing to provide to the MPA managers the tools to develop these adaptation action plans, like the vulnerability assessment, the citizen science, and others. Then, and this is the reason why I'm here, with Ernesto, we are having here in Ancona next Thursday a workshop to develop this dedicated long-term assistance mechanism that is a group of experts on these different toolkits that we have been developing to support MPA managers to implement it correctly. And then a third pillar, it's about policy and advocacy to push to the different administrations to adopt or to support the MPAs as nature-based solutions and provide not only the support saying that this is what that they have to provide funds, they have to provide different means to do it. We have already the support of these really large institutions, organizations, the Mediterranean, the MedPan, the SPARAC. I don't know if you probably know some of them, but they are key actors and main actors in the Mediterranean. So we are really happy on having this support. And I'm just about to finish. The vision that we have with this is that these 100 MPAs here are not represented. This is kind of illustration, but not the real ones. We don't know where will be placed. But the idea that we have, or the vision that we have, is that these 100 MPAs will be distributed along the entire Mediterranean, and they will be like lighthouses, illuminating their areas to fight the climate change, but as well helping the others, empower the local MPA managers to help the other MPAs around to increase the level of effectiveness of the MPA, the Mediterranean MPA system. So this, and why the MPAs are so important, and this is a photo that I took when I had the chance to go to Cavolara in Sardinia, and I really love this panel because it's the essential of the MPAs. It's working, so let nature work, or how I put nature at work, working with nature, is what we have to do, because nature, it's so generous that if we provide them the good conditions, it's always able to provide us a lot of benefits for the nature itself and as well for us. But we need to provide these really good conditions. And marine protected areas, we know that when we protect well and there's really well enforced, the changes happen. And nature doesn't stop working. It works every day, 24 hours, 65 days per year. So it's something that if it's there working for us, so why not let's make the Mediterranean a hotspot. It's a hotspot for many things, so why not make it as well a hotspot for climate change adaptation? Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Kim, for the nice presentation. I knew some slides, other were new for me. And we can open the discussion.
Can I start? Yeah. So, yeah. First of all, really thank you for this 25 years long journey, and yeah, dramatic but really impressive. So I actually have 3 questions. So I will try and open the discussion. The first is about the hope. Yeah. One of my questions was you were anticipating me because I was saying. Please give us, the young generation, some hope. And this one is very clear, of course. I was wondering if there is another hope, which is restoration at the same time, but active restoration. So do you really see potential in the active restoration? Maybe we could imagine in the next 10 years hundreds of drones moving down the water and planting these animals?
I wish I could say yes. No. For me, restoration now, it's, I've been working in restoration, and I think that we have to make work on setting the protocols and setting the systems, and of course it's something that we have, but we cannot promise, as it's happening now, many European projects that they got really huge funding. They are promising things that is not possible that they can do, and they still get the money. And I think for me this is a waste of resources. So we have to focus on the things that that we know that it work. I'm not saying that we can use the restoration as a tool within the management plan of some marine protected area or outside to help in the recovery of some specific areas, but the ecological. The impact at the ecological scales of most of the I have not been checking every single restoration action, but those that I know, it's really limited. I would say that it's even zero, the ecological impact. So we need to as a community, I think that we need to start thinking, or to stop lying to ourselves. Because we are selling this to the society like, yes, we have the solution. We will be restoring, and you will see. No matter what's happening, we will restore it, and there is nothing. No, it's not true. At this point, it's not true. Maybe in the terrestrial systems, and they have many more years of experience, they don't need to go with the tanks or with submarines or with drones. They can go. They can work many hours per day, and still they have a lot of problems. When I heard people selling restoration projects, active restoration projects in the deep sea, it's not possible. It's an oxymoron, you know. It's not possible.
Very clear.
Sorry.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
So the second question is about, I'm a microbiome scientist, so I have been working, when I was a postdoc, I was working on microbiome of tropical corals and whatever. So my question is that, is there still research going on microbiome potential role on the heat waves? So if the heat waves are really targeting the animals and whatever, and what do you think about this? Do you think it is relevant?
Yeah, I mean, this is a new, in these experiments that I mentioned you, I think that it was there, but maybe I forgot to put it. But yeah, we collaborate, and in fact, I co-supervised a thesis on one student in Marseille that was characterizing the microbiome of some gorgonians. And still, there are, now this is evolving really fast, and it was, it's a lot of surprises, but the sad thing is that I think that the levels of thermal stress that we are witnessing are overpassing. So the species, the microbes, they are not the evolution. They don't have the capacity because it's outside any range. So they could say there you could see that some populations that can resist 3 degrees more. Okay, but now in some cases you are 5, 6, 7 degrees more. And it's they are not adapted to this. They don't have the adaptive capacity. So one of the nicest experiments that the experiments that I'm most proud of is that in these permanent plots, we have been collecting small pieces of the gorgonians, and we have been testing the thermotolerance after the summers of 3 or 4 summers. One after the others. So we, from these experiments, we could see we wanted to see what was the component of the summer conditions versus the genetic component of the gorgonian, because we were sampling every year and testing every year the same colonies. And at the end of this experiment, we thought that we discovered that there were some resistant populations, and even within some populations, some resistant colonies. Then it came the marine heat wave of 2022, and nothing was left. So those that we thought that were resistant, they died. So it's this is why I think that the limits that we are witnessing, they are too much.
Yeah, thank you. The last question is less science and more politics, but because you are here and because you have such a long experience working with NPAs, so you probably know that in this region we are struggling and fighting since more than 20 years to let politicians understand that marine protected areas are important, especially if we have 2 potential marine protected areas that are there and they are not establishing because of many problems. So my question is that if you have any advice to give to us to convince the politicians, or maybe, I don't know, if you have experience with other types of similar situation,
I mean,
anything you can advise us. So
yeah, I wish I could give you the right advice as well on this, but I know that it's complicated, especially in areas where there are a lot of actors that have been main actors for many years, and this is difficult. My experience is mainly in the Catalan coast, and even some declare marine protected areas for many years. They were still pending of having, after more than 25 years, pending to have a management plan. So my advice would be that if you do it, it has to be the entire package, because having a declaration of a marine protected area and saying we will see what are the main rules on how to deal with this can be delayed, and then the main problem is that if the MPA is not delivering, if it's not well enforced, we cannot evaluate properly the benefits of this. And if we cannot evaluate properly the benefits of this, of this instrument, then it's really difficult as well to convince again to go and declare all the marine protected areas. In the Mediterranean, one of the problems is that most of the marine protected areas are so small that for many things are not useful. And most of them, they are paper packs. So even if you have the limits, then, for instance, sometimes in the Catalan coast we have different zones, but yeah, in the paper. But how you compare outside, inside, the different levels of protection if you know that there is no difference between not in the paper, but in the real world? It's really difficult. So enforcement and management effectiveness, it's the key. Even I would say start small, and from this increase.
Thank you.
question about the devices that could record the seawater temperature throughout the water column. I wish to know how do you install them and for how long can they stay in the water?
Yeah, we in the TMNet you can see there are some video tutorials that show all the process how to set it up. But in summary, we have a special patent which is now you can buy it in many places. That we make a hole in the rocks, and then we fix them. These temperature data loggers, we fix them, and they can stay there for, the battery can last up to 5 years. So they can record the temperature every hour during 5 years. But what we usually do is to go there every 6 months, more or less. So we take them, download the data before the summer, and we come back after the summer, and we take them and download the data, and then we keep, just to be sure that the temperature, because with the winter storms, sometimes the things go away. So, and it can be that the data logger is not working. So we want to guarantee that we have the data for the summer, and this the procedure that we use.
Very interested. We have some leaflets, printed leaflets about the protocols.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, there is the list of materials, and there is the video tutorials where to.
And how much is the cost of this small device?
Right now, every temperature is about 120. Oh, well, I don't remember now, but
less than 200.
Yeah, less than 200. Yes.
And is there a non-destructive method to install them, or you have to make repairs?
Well, you could do it. You could put it in. Some people is putting in the buoys, in the lines of the buoys. But the problem with this is that sometimes these buoys they go away, so then you lose the temperature data loggers. And the other thing is that sometimes you don't know exactly the depth, because depending on the current, it goes like this, So then it's moving. So, but you have to be aware that when I say that you make a hole, it's a hole. You are scrapping, I don't know, 5 square centimeters, and it's not a mass mortality event.
So we are receiving some. There's a question from the YouTube.
Wow.
Right.
And I also had a similar question, so I'll try to merge the two questions. So Claudio Passapollo is asking you, you put 3 questions, so let's start from the first one. In some cases, marine heatwaves, marine mass mortality events also occur in MPA, so how the constitution of a new MPA can provide solution is a kind of critical question that I wanted to implement with my question. Is that I also recognize that marine protected area have been not created, the conservation efforts that are implemented in marine protected area are not created to counteract the problem of climate change. They wanted to fix other kind of problems. So the question of Claudio, I see the question of Claudio. But we also know that many scientists and also managers are now proposing, advocating kind of change of paradigm, not just to provide conservation, so less natural alone to do its job, but many people, including many scientists, are proposing intervention, like for example the introduction of organisms that are modified, genetically modified, or for example replacing native organisms or native population with population or species that are more adapted to temperature and also to the change of temperature that are expected for the near future. In the Mediterranean, we know that it's not a natural experiment, but it's an unplanned experiment. Experiment is going on with the opening of the Suez Channel, the Suez Canal, so that is allowing tropical species to enter, species that are more adapted than our native boreal or temperate species. So this kind of experiment is already ongoing in the Mediterranean. So how you see this this kind of vision? Do we really need the change of paradigm and allow the new species to replace the old one?
The problem is, I mean, in the Mediterranean, we have this introduced and invasive species that are going, and something that we cannot control. So this is something that it's true that there are people that's talking that the functional replacement.
Yeah.
So we have the climate change that it's killing some, or that making the life difficult for some species, and then you have the introduced or invasive species that they are taking the role. So at the end of the day, you say, okay, this is bad, but at the same time, we are replacing the function. That's fine. This is something that we cannot stop, so probably we will see it. The problem is that for many, maybe someday, the other day I was wondering why there is no, there are some cases or some papers mentioning some tropical gorgonians, for instance, entering, but they didn't go really far away, you know. But corals, maybe someday we will see some tropical corals growing here, then putting this structure, I don't know. But the other part of the question about the intervention, I think that it's linked to the restoration, because of course, one of the goals that we did these experiments and this genetic analysis was to identify what were the mechanisms that provide the resistance to some colonies to others, but we were looking for the mechanism, and then for the traits, genetic traits that mark the resistance in a way that then we could kind of check what populations they have it, and then they could be used as donors for the restoration actions. But the main problem of this, which I think that is something that we can be working, but the idea that it's going to be a solution for the next year or in 10 years, I don't see it. I don't see it, because then even if you discover a really resistant population, you have to grow it. You have then you have the problem of you know, that you enter in an uncharted area, because you take, I don't know, population from the Adriatic to the Western Mediterranean, and maybe there, you know, there are some microbes that in the Adriatic that they do nothing, and then they kill the rest of we don't know. So we have to be really careful on that. So I think that I'm not saying that we don't have to allocate resources to study or to analyze the restoration the restoration actions. We need, because it can be useful, and in some years maybe the technology is going to allow us to do things that now we cannot imagine. But the problem is that we are having the problem now, and we have been having the problem for the last 20 or 30 years, and we cannot wait 30 more years to do things. And if you ask me, I would say, I know that it's really difficult, but we know that in the cases that it worked, the marine protected areas, they are not designed to the climate change, that's for sure. But one thing that it's in the basic ecological theory is that if you remove the sources of stress, the community is going to be better. Then maybe the stress that is coming by the climate change is going to be enormous and they cannot do, but you are giving a chance to the nature to find the solution as it did for many years. There are many cases that when you remove for instance, in the Monterey Bay, that it was really fully contaminated, and it was a waste in just few years, when they remove the effects or they remove the source, it recovered. So I'm not saying that it's the same, because it's not the same, because that was more localized and they knew exactly what was the source of the problem, and here is much more diffuse. But we have to work in some direction, and we have to provide these good conditions to the nature. I don't see other way, and yeah.
Okay.
There was Enrico that.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. First of all, thank you for your presentation. Really inspiring. Now you're experiencing about the mass mortality about mussel, European mussel in our sea. And we know the relevance of the species is an habitat-forming species, really important for our ecosystem and for our biodiversity. So based on your experience, what is the best approach for monitoring the situation, the condition after such events?
I think, well, I haven't had the opportunity to dive here or to snorkel here, but I would say that having not permanent areas, but at least permanent sites, so that you sample more or less in the same area every time and set sites like this, it could be the best. And putting this, I think that Ernesto told me that you already started to put some temperature data loggers, for instance.
Yeah.
This kind of things, it's
To identify permanent location or to start building the
Yeah, I mean,
kind of soil.
the permanent plots are really nice because they provide you really accurate information, but it's much heavier in terms of monitoring. But we know as well that in the Benthic systems we have a lot of heterogeneity, so you need to block a little bit. So I'm not going to say that you go randomly and check the places, but you see, for instance, in a place like this size, you take several quadrats that they don't have to be exactly in the same place, but that you have an idea of that you have been always sampling in the same place. And then you can do it this visually, or I think that if you have the opportunity to make photos, it's something that it lasts, and then it can help you in the future. It's something as well that to raise awareness on this phenomena, having this photographic or videographic records, it's really important, because the people, we are visual animals, and if you see, this was like this 10 years ago, and now it's like this, what happened here? You can explain it in a page, but the people is not going to read it. But this, in just a few seconds, you get their attention.
Yeah.
And then for the mussel mortality, which is something that is really new for us, it's an important, because the mussel is a very important resource for all the Adriatic Sea, but also as a habitat-forming species, there's a huge biodiversity embedded in the mussel beds. So it should be quantified.
Yeah.
Huge loss of biodiversity.
The good thing I would say is that the mussel, if the conditions are not really bad every year, it can be, if there is some seed, I would say it can recover.
Yeah. Yeah, but also recruits are suffering.
The recruits are also suffering. Okay.
This year, according to just random empiric observation, we had a very nice recruitment.
Mm-hmm.
So young recruits, and many of them, And then in June we had very severe heat waves. So
and they kill them.
We started observing the beginning of the mortality, and we were lucky because probably 2 days more of this heat wave, everything will be dead. But then suddenly the temperature dropped and the product was safe. But it was like...
Are they still there now?
Yes, I think yes. I don't know about after this flooding.
Yes.
Yeah, Enrico.
Suggestion for the youngest?
Oh, yeah, there is Enrico that, I don't know.
Part of the question was already asked by
Okay,
the
okay,
so
okay.
I was trying to
Okay,
reach out there.
no problem. Yes.
I have a question about those 100 MPs and how you will choose them, like
How you?
how you will choose them, how you will select them.
This is something that we are going to launch this, and it's something that with these organizations, which I don't know if you know them, but the SPARAC, for instance, is the regional center of the Barcelona Convention for Biodiversity, and they have this network of SPAMIs that they call, so they have a subgroup of MPAs of 40 MPAs, and probably we will be starting by those MPAs, but then we have to define the process on how we will be. The main criteria is try to have this geographic distribution. And then this is the main target of our support, but then if there are other MPAs that are willing to adopt this by themselves, it's something that we can as well to provide support, and that's the idea. But it's something new, we all know. This is the idea that we have, this is a crazy idea, I guess, but we have been working with Sara and Ernesto these days, and I don't know what is going to happen because there are many unknowns, but this is the idea. So hopefully in some years I can come here again and say, no, these are the 50 MPAs that where they are already implementing this, and hopefully it's going to work like this. At least we are going to give it a try. So that's the main goal. And in this thing, is something that I want as well to stress that for you, young people, this is an opportunity as well. You know, I hope that this, if it make it happen, this will mean that these MPAs, they will need people to help them, to support them, to implement these different. Here I'm focusing more in the ecological monitoring and these kind of things, but there are other aspects to support the MPAs, many other aspects to support the MPAs. And I think that this is something that you can keep in mind as well, because even from you, not in the framework of this initiative, but in other initiative or in other frameworks, you can find your way as well to build your career or to build your pathway or professional pathway. Okay. So I encourage you to explore this.
And Joaquim, you are based in Barcelona.
Yeah, I'm based in Barcelona, yes.
Because yeah, it would be great if you have positions. Sometimes you may.
Problem is that now I'm not really good supervisor, so because I'm not almost. I feel I took. Now I have the last PhD students that they are going to finish, and I felt so I'm going, and I don't feel good because I couldn't be as much as I wanted with them to support them. So I decided to the administration and this kind of things. Yeah, so
yeah, but that's something that we have in common. So.
yeah, yeah, but I don't know. I feel really bad to make people come. I had a student from Naples, from Simonetta Fraschetti, and I could speak. He spent 5 months in Barcelona in my lab, and I could speak with him twice. It's not fair. Well, for me, he was happy to be there in Barcelona. So maybe I have to put this in the balance. But okay, so if he was happy and thankful for being there, and of course he met the people working with me and this kind of things. But I felt bad because I wanted to have more interaction. So this is why I'm not taking.
We can find a way to build a more long collaboration, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I don't know what is better to have a full-time supervisor in Ancona or a part-time supervisor in Barcelona.
And it's not the point of the quantity of the quality. I'm sure you can.
Yeah, I don't know. This is a personal issue. I feel bad, so I know that sometimes I receive messages from students. I'm sorry if one of you wrote me and I didn't write you back, because this is the normal baseline. It's not writing back to the students, which is really bad, so sorry. But this is the sad reality, you know, that I'm overwhelmed by the things every day. I prefer to say, okay, focus on what I'm doing. And I've been supervising many students. I supervise 16 PhDs already, so I think that I already contribute a bit on this. That's it. Okay. Maybe it's an excuse, but that is what.
Maybe there is a last question from YouTube. Maybe you can. It should be.
If he's not tired.
If you are not tired, and then you can.
One more question.
Please, very quick. Alberto Coletti is asking if do we know whether mass mortality events occur more frequently in partially protected areas compared to fully protected ones?
No. We didn't. We tried to make this analysis, but it's not easy because the thing that I just mentioned, because many, even if we know that the points of sampling points are within the MPAs, they are not evenly distributed, so it's clearly biased towards inside the MPAs, because this is where mostly of us is working. But then, even within the MPAs, we don't know if it's really working or not. So it's tricky question to answer. I hope someday we will be able to see this. There is some works because around this issue about if really marine protected areas are providing much more better conditions for resistance and recovery of the impacts of climate change. There's a lot of literature, and one of the papers that has been more successful is what they call the conservation paradox. That it says that since within the marine protected areas you have better the species more sensible or more developed, then when you compare the impact when some marine heat wave arrives compared to outside, that all these species they are already receive the impacts, then you see inside the MPAs they are suffering more. No, no, it's that the conditions were better, and then you have more vulnerable species there, and then they suffer more. But,
okay, so I think we can
thank you.
Joaquim, thank you very much, Joaquim. I didn't find the booklet because I finished, but once some links.
How is Pep Gasol doing? Pep Gasol is doing well?
Yeah.